Okay, so our next episode is going to be taking a bit of a detour. Episode 7 of the Future Arc is entitled Ultra Despair Girls, because we're going to be completely breaking off from the main storyline of the Killing Game to catch back up with Komaru and Toko on their quest to save Toa City. Which means that this, ladies and gentlemen, is the episode where we're finally going to get all our payoffs for Ultra Despair Girls. If you'll recall, I was warned by a certain forgetful gal that I should avoid this game like the plague at any and all costs.
Please don't play this game. You're going to hate yourself. You've got to believe me here.
No. Me want play.
Alright. See you later. But don't come crying to me when you have to stop tentacles from groping you.
When I what? But I ultimately chose to ignore her advice because I had been told by a few commenters that if I didn't play this game, then this show wasn't going to make any sense. Which is hilarious considering the cavalcade of nonsensical shit we've experienced thus far. But I understood the sentiment behind it. You know, the idea that certain characters or events stemming from this game would be alluded to that I'd be completely clueless about if I didn't play the game. Unfortunately, as we all know, taking that plunge resulted in one of the most miserable gaming experiences I have ever had. Broken mechanics, horrific characters, nonsensical motives, a piss-poor narrative, and the most morally reprehensible scenes I have ever played, all merged together into a game that I legitimately had a hard time believing was actually real. But nevertheless, I survived Ultra Despair Girls, and now we've finally arrived at the episode when it's all gonna come into play. The downfall of Monica, the resolution of the adults vs. kids storyline, the absolution of all the kids under mind control, a reunion between Makoto and Komaru, and rescuing the city from the army of Monokuma robots. It's all gonna come into play. This is it. This is what we fought for. This is what we suffered through 18 hours of raw nightmare fuel for. The final battle, the end game of Ultra Despair Girls. It all comes down to this. So, let's begin. The episode starts out with Monica throwing a temper tantrum. I see we're off to a great start as always. She's giving a speech to her army of Monokuma robots and stop, we have to stop everything. I'm sorry, what? How do you still have this army? The robot factory was destroyed at the end of the last game. That was kind of the whole thing, you know? The final battle, the climax, the coup de grace. And if the explanation is that these are just the remaining robots that we missed during our 18-hour torturous mushroom trip, then why the fuck didn't Komaru turn off all the robots with a controller? Yes, she didn't break the controller because that would have led to all the children exploding, but she still had the remote that was controlling all the robots. Why not just put them all to sleep without destroying the controller? Or if there's no sleep function, then how about you just make them all walk into the ocean? Or literally anything other than just fucking off and letting the robots run rampant so Monica can rise back up to her tyrannical position of power. Wait a minute, how is Monica even controlling the robots without her controller in the first place? What the fuck is going on? Castle Monica? What? Literally, how did you get the resources to build this place? Your factory was destroyed. You were on the run at the end of the last game. And even if you somehow managed to scrape together enough resources to make this place, why would you make this place? Why would you want to telegraph your presence this clearly when you're supposed to be on the run? Oh my god, the episode's just getting started, everyone. We can't lose our cool this early. Let's just move on to the next scene. Maybe things will make more sense there. Next up, we cut to a hotel where we see all the Warriors of Hope alive and well, and wait, what the fuck? How are you Sour Patch Rugrats still alive? You two were smothered to death by a horde of angry children. You, for some reason, were kept alive, so you get a pass, I guess. But you were crushed by a pillar that extended up to the goddamn ceiling. In other words, fuck no, you did not survive that shit. Where are the stakes in this universe? How am I supposed to get invested in a world where everybody just keeps randomly getting revived despite the circumstances of their death being quite fucking definitive? You can't just keep reviving people. You are utterly annihilating the stakes if you do this. Oh my god, you know what, let's just hope they don't revive anyone else for the rest of the show. So Nagisa tells Komaru that Monica is hiding in Castle Monica on the outskirts of town. I don't know why it took you this long to tell her that, since there's no way you could have possibly missed a castle with her name on it proudly painted on the front, but that's whatever. He then warns Komaru to
promise me you'll try not to be so hard on the girl.
Fuck no, bitch! Monica was willing to blow up every single child in the city, and that was after she already mercilessly murdered almost every single adult in the city. She deserves every last bit of what's coming to her. Moving on, we cut to a gameplay sequence where Komaru headshots some Monokumas with break bullets and then proceeds to aim for the neck on others? Aim for the eye, you fool! That's the weak point! She then wastes a burn bullet on a single Monokuma and wastes a dance bullet on a regular Monokuma. You gotta save this for the Siren Monokumas, you noob! What are you doing? Who taught you how to play this game? You were much more tactically proficient when I was playing as you. Oh, but then, fucking then, we get some straight up bullshit. What? Link didn't fucking do that! What? What? No! Genocide Jack didn't fucking do that! Did you fuckers actually play this game? I mean, I don't blame you, it's pretty awful, but still, these abilities were nowhere near this goddamn powerful in the actual game.
It's like playing expert level without cheat codes.
Who wrote this dialogue? And then a bowling ball ricochets itself into the sky and then proceeds to homing attack onto Kamaru, and she just fucking stands there like some kind of useless cabbage, just waiting to get crushed. What are you doing? I played this game, unfortunately, so I know you have knockback bullets. We see you use every other combat relevant bullet in this scene, but you just fucking forget about knockback bullets? And even if we assume that you are out of ammo for the knockback bullet, just fucking run away, you dopey tit! The bowling ball is on a hit-scan collision course with your skull if you don't just move your ass. Oh, but fear not, everyone, because then Toko leaps forward and cuts up the bowling ball, and so she is saved. God damn it, Kamaru, use your resources! Why are you still in Genocide Jack form? You're just wasting battery life! Switch back! What are you fuckers doing? Whatever, moving on. Then Toko starts thinking about Bakuya and... Oh, no, not another Fantasyland sequence. Stop it, stop, you fuck off this instant. What are you doing?
Perhaps I should put you in handcuffs.
No! So then it is revealed that in Fantasyland these two have a million children? Then they turn around and we meet Chibi Komaru?
Hi, I'm Chibi Komaru.
What the fuck is this? What the fuck are you? Go back to Blue's Clues, you felt friend fuck.
We are ready to help.
No! So then they do the sex and Bakuya senses that Toko is fantasizing about him? Okay, moving on. Our heroes arrive at Castle Monaca and discover that the place is guarded by standard Monakumas. Why? Why would you not have higher ranking enemies guarding your castle? Whatever, that absolutely pales in comparison to the insanity that is about to unfold. Please try to follow me here. The script is about to start losing its fucking mind. So Monaca is watching our heroes through her magic cameras and doesn't understand why they haven't been consumed by despair, and thinks that the reason why is because despair isn't trendy, or perhaps because Monaca isn't trendy, and that the world doesn't want her anymore. Oh, you think I'm fucking lying, don't you? No, I'm not kidding here. That's actual dialogue from this show. And then she says that her two options are to either leave the world or destroy the world? What? What the fuck do you mean despair isn't trendy? Have you looked out the fucking window recently? The world is currently being ravaged by despair! They talk about this in the first episode of the show! Your robots are still roaming the streets, what are you talking about? Also, what is this dichotomy of choices? Neither leaving the world or destroying the world would align with what Juko would have wanted. You know, that person that you built a fucking shrine room to and whose successor you are trying to be? Juko wouldn't want you to just fuck off to nowhere land. She would want you to keep spreading despair throughout the world. And destroying the world? Really? You do realize that if you destroy the world, you don't have anywhere left to spread despair, right?
If you destroy the tri-state area, what exactly will you have left to take over?
You hit the nail on the head, Dr. D. What, you gonna go to Mars and spread some despair to Martians? Yeah, why not at this point? Go ahead, give it a shot. Maybe they'll even crown you the Queen of Mars while you're up there. So then our heroes enter the final boss lair where they come face to face with... face to screen with Monaca herself as an army of super ultra mega bad robots rise up from the floor, and then she delivers her evil monologue during which she explains her plan to spread despair throughout the world and bring Makoto to his knees. She then fires a single missile at Kamaru and Toko, which they easily sidestep. Hey, why don't you just fire, I don't know, all of them? Why not have every single robot in this room fire a missile at them? I don't know, man, I feel like this would be over already if you did that. But nonetheless, this is it. We're in the endgame now. This is the final battle. The culmination of all the drama of Ultra Despair Girls. Of all the trials and tribulations that Monaca put us through. Of all the ups and downs of our adventure. Of all the character work established on both the hero and villain side of things. This is what it all comes down to. The final confrontation between Kamaru and Toko and Monaca herself. Our heroes stand back to back, weapons armed and at the ready. Having fought their way through an endless onslaught of Monokuma robots, they know now that no matter what happens, they're ready to stand together as a team and face down whatever kind of trouble this world tries to put them in. And so they prepare to battle Monaca and her robots in one final glorious...
Fine, I surrender. Fine, I surrender. Fine, I surrender.
What the fuck? I am not yanking your chain. I am not kidding. I am not lying to you. This is real. After teeing up a final boss battle, the ultimate climax of their adventure as partners, and with absolutely no build up to this decision whatsoever, Monaca just fucking surrenders. She gives up. She throws her hands up into the air and just blows up all her robots, instantly concluding the conflict.
It's just way too stubborn to die.
What the fuck do you mean? You have an army of robots armed with missiles! They were all aimed at Komaru and Toko. Just push the fire button and you'll kill them instantly! What are you talking about? So then the castle blows up and Komaru and Toko survive? How? What is with this show and creating massive explosions that don't deal any damage to the characters? How is this van fully intact? And why in the flying fuck did you just give up everything you spent the entirety of the last game fighting for?
Yeah, no. That was this whole phase I was going through. I'm over it now. Let's pretend it never happened.
Are you fucking kidding me? A phase? A fucking phase? You're telling me that I suffered through every stupid puzzle, every repetitive combat encounter, every moronic plot-beating character moment, every serious topic the game brought up for 2 seconds and then dropped like it was nothing, and every single goddamn one of the blatantly gross and disgusting scenes the developers put into this game. I suffered through all that bullshit for 18 hours because you were going through your angsty teen phase? Are you actually yanking my chain right now?
Whoever's behind the mutual killing game, it's not me.
So you may be wondering what she was doing in the Future Foundation if she wasn't the Mastermind. Well, you see, she's just been watching because she wanted to see Makoto Naegi up close. But what this train wreck of a show fails to understand is that she's still seeing him through a screen. You'd have had just as much of an up-close experience meeting him if you just spied on that conference call she had with him in Ultra Despair Girls. Or if you just watched the broadcast from the first game. That would have been a pretty up-close experience.
I might have had a little fun with ketchup for old time's sake. Nothing major.
Yep. She murdered a woman in cold blood and fucked with everyone in the Future Foundation just for fun. Do you not want to continue the legacy of your sister figure? Do you not want to kill Makoto? You know, the one who defeated your sister figure twice? Why did you just dig around at the Future Foundation instead of killing Makoto only to decide you were done being evil? Fuck off, you dumbass show! This show keeps changing villains like it's changing clothes. Our first villain was the Steel Samurai who had a hate boner for Makoto, but then he stopped giving a shit about Makoto for some bullshit reasons, and then the villain shifted to Nala who was trying to murder Veruca. Although I guess that technically makes her the hero. But then she relinquished the role when her pills wore off, and so then the old guy became the villain based on the flimsiest reasoning ever. But then he fucking died, and so Monica became the villain only for her to literally get bored of her murder conquest because it was just a phase! I wonder who the next villain's gonna be. Ooh. Oh, and do you know what the cherry on top of this madness is? It turns out that the one who made Monica get bored of the story was none other than Nagito Kamaeda himself. As usual, it's all his fault. Even when he's literally been booted out of the story, he still makes me want to punch something. So then Monica stops being evil, but then she becomes evil again 2 seconds later when she decides to taunt that one of the survivors from the first game is gonna die. And it's all gonna be Makoto's fault. Which means it has to be either Hina or Kyoko because Bikuya, Toko, and Yasuhiro aren't playing the killing game. It also means that their death needs to be tied to a secret achievement because there's no other way she could have possibly obtained this information. Although even assuming that she somehow figured out everyone's secret achievement is a major stretch. And since we already know what Hina's secret achievement is, it has to be Kyoko that's going to die because of fucking course it has to be. So her secret achievement is somehow linked to Makoto, but again, how do you know that if you're not the Mastermind? You never spent any time with Kyoko. How did you obtain that information? And speaking of things that you couldn't have done if you weren't the Mastermind, how did you manage to synchronize your screen with the Monokuma video? This had to be pre-recorded since the Mastermind is someone in that room, but your screen clearly isn't pre-recorded, so how the fuck did you pull this shit off?
Leave me alone. Google it, jeez.
Google it? What the fuck is Google gonna do, you green mooncalf? Are the Google servers even functional in the zombie Monokuma apocalypse? So then Toko becomes Genocide Jack and threatens to kill Monica, who then proceeds to fart on her, which then proceeds to make her lose her collective fucking mind. Someone animated this shit. Someone wrote this shit. And people were paid money to do both of those things. Then the script starts hemorrhaging again. Monica summons 4 Monokumas like she's calling in an ODST drop. They all completely ignore Komaru and Toko so they can position themselves at the 4 corners of her van and, you better brace yourselves for this one, they then summon thrusters out of their bellies and blast off to outer space in her favorite rocket ship because where she's going she doesn't need roads. Then, Toko and Komaru jump onto the goddamn van and hold on tight as Monica blasts off to outer space. What are you gonna do? You don't have a special spacesuit to protect you. What is your plan here? Even if you get inside the van before you leave the atmosphere, what happens then? You're just stranded in space forever with this broccoli-haired fuck? What is this plan? This is moronic! Also, wait, no, fuck that idea. There's no way this van is safe for you to survive in space. You don't have a spacesuit to protect you from radiation, and there's no way this van is airtight enough to protect you from the cold, dark vacuum of space!
No more thinking!
Fuck Fuck off, you dumbass show! You don't get to send one of your main villains into outer space for no fucking reason at all and then tell me to shut my brain off. Stop it, stop writing shit that doesn't make sense. Then they jump off the van and so they fucking die. Oh wait, no they don't. Because Kamaru shoots link bullets in Monokumas that literally didn't exist 2 seconds ago, and mind controls all of them to grab a fully intact curtain and stretch it out to save them like the Fireside Girls with their sashes. What? What in the hooliest the fuck did you just make me watch? You were falling over the main floor when you took off for space. How the hell did you end up over the edge of this building? Where did all these Monokumas come from? How could this curtain possibly be in this condition after this explosion? How are these tiny ass Monokumas strong enough to support your weight? Oh wait, it turns out they aren't strong enough because our heroes end up on the ground floor after they hit the curtain. Which makes even less sense because do you fucking see how tall this castle is? You'd still be dead even if your fall time was reset and you started falling from there. How did you get from here to here safely? And most importantly, that's not how Link works! You can't control more than one Monokuma at a time with the Link bullet! Believe me, I played this damn nightmare fuel of a game from start to finish and you barely had control of one Monokuma with its ability. There's absolutely no way you were able to simultaneously mind control every single one of them into these precise positions when the functionality of a Link bullet is directly contradicted to what happens! What is happening anymore? Who wrote this rampaging disaster of a script? I am in utter bewilderment at what I just had to watch. You fuckers just made Ultra Despair Girls completely irrelevant. It was all a gigantic waste of time. Remember the adults who wanted to murder all the children? Remember the children who were being mind controlled? Yeah, well none of that matters now. They don't even pretend to address it in the slightest. And as for the main conflict with Monica, they bait a climactic final battle, only for the villain to literally get bored of the story and fuck off to space. She straight up says,
Let's pretend it never happened.
fuck off, fuck this show. Fuck you and your bullshit conclusion to this story. You created 18 goddamn hours of pure unbridled torture, presumably so you could lead to some kind of substantive finale to all these story arcs you brought up, only to drop every single one of them like they never happened at all, revive all the Warriors of Hope as if they never died, and then have Monica grow out of her angsty teen phase and give up on being evil because you all were too lazy to actually write something that had any kind of finality whatsoever. Or just fuck off. Fuck you and your dumbass episode to render the entirety of Ultra Despair Girls null and void. Get me the hell out of here. Take me back to Despair Land, please. Okay, so Junko meets John Lasseter, and after telling her he's an animator, she says,
Wow, if I were a gigantic weeb, I'd probably be impressed by you.
You think anime's just for nerds?
Well, duh.
where the fuck is your self-awareness, you insufferable dingbat? So then he shows Junko his animation, and she provides the most obviously faked reaction of all time.
Damn! That's gonna redefine the genre!
Stop fucking zooming in on people's eyes! Get away from the camera! So then, to prove just how much she loves his animation, she grabs a baseball bat and destroys his entire anime collection. What the fuck is going on? But y'all better hold on tight because it's all about to get so much worse. So as it turns out, there's actually a special little reason why his animations were able to elicit an emotional reaction from Junko and Mukuro. And it's because... It's because he makes use of subliminal mental manipulation. No, you did not mishear me. He infuses his animations with subliminal mental manipulation to elicit a specific behavioral response out of the people that watch them. Do you see where this is going? Can you see the rest of the plot unfolding before your eyes? Because I sure as hell knew exactly where this bullshit was going, and I could feel my brain cells melting into each other as a result. But since we haven't quite reached the point where the script commits suicide, we'll hold off on discussing the implications of this for just a little while. I'll let it stew in your head for just a little bit. And then, because this show is just one big joke, it shows off Junko's ass and cleavage while talking about subtle mental manipulation. Yeah, real fucking subtle there, show. This isn't subtlety, you clods. It's just you going,
Hey, look at here.
Also, John Lasseter is describing standard animation techniques to redirect the viewer's attention. You know, camera trickery, painting with certain colors. There's a difference between appealing to human psychology and fucking brainwashing people, but in just a few short episodes, this dumbass show is going to try to convince you that they're the same thing. Kill me. Before we move on, I would like to take this opportunity to remind you all that Junko bumped into this man by random chance. Please remember that for later. So then we jump over to the classroom and... Wait, what the fuck? He brought a fucking bear? He brought a bear into the classroom? You did what?
Dude brought a bear in. And he brought a bear.
How did Athena ever approve of this? Actually, scratch that. How did you get this fucking thing in here? How did its fat ass even fit through the door? How did you get it onto the elevator without plummeting to your doom?
I'm still not sure why
why there's a bear in the classroom.
Once again, Mahiru, the only one in the room with a brain except for Chiaki. So then Hiyoko says that Nagito is dead, but then Mahiru says nah, and so to answer this question, we cut to the middle of the fucking desert, where we see Nagito showering in a nearby oasis. For some stupid reason, but the more important takeaway here is that Nagito survived a plane crash. He appears to be the only survivor of this plane crash, and there just so happened to be an oasis right fucking next to where his plane crashed. Lovely. Anyway, he's fucking dead since there's no way he's getting out of the desert by himself, so at least I have that to look forward to. Moving on, everyone starts wondering where Mikan is, and Ibuki says that she left early to hang out with Among Us, and Kazuichi fantasizes about the two of them doing the sex, which was a massive fucking mistake considering the fact that Teru is in the goddamn room. And thanks to his words of wisdom, we learn that this man apparently has a banana and a donut just fucking sitting in his back pocket, ready to go in a moment's notice, and then we're forced to watch this. Someone fucking animated this shit. But thankfully, it all culminates with the bear biting their hands off. They have no hands anymore. They're gone. They're fucking dead, since obviously there's no way they could walk away from this encounter with two perfectly functioning hands still attached to their bodies. Surely.
Still wondering why there's a bear.
You and me both, Mahiru. Next, we get a scene where Among Us is harassing Mikan about how John Lasseter has apparently been missing for a full week up until this point. Why is Mikan your go-to for literally everything? I get that she's the only one who knows your secret, but there are literal detectives whose job it is to find missing people. They do this for a living. Why do you keep turning to her? Apparently, Lasseter left Among Us a note saying that he left to focus on his work, which makes no sense at all because that's all you do. All you know is work. Your setup is right there. You don't have to go anywhere to focus on your work. What are you talking about? How did you leave this note and expect Among Us to just go, all right, makes sense? But don't worry, everybody, Blue's Clues Detective Mikan is on the case. She goes over to his apartment to investigate the scene and just so happens to bump into Mukuro at the exact same time that she arrives. What fucking luck! Also, did Among Us not come with you, to his home while you investigated? So then we cut to the fountain, you know the one, where Matt tells Athena that even more staff members have gone missing and as a result, security's been beefed up around her and her students. Please remember that for later. Because he is apparently worried that the higher-ups might be onto their super secret spy mission and are coming after them as a result. Athena tells him that she's more than willing to lay down her life, and in response, Matt tells her not to let emotions cloud her judgment, which is a sentence that I really, really hope you remember for later in this series. And then she says,
You sound jealous. Careful.
You say that like you're proud of the fact that he's jealous. Like you're dangling the keys of love in front of him just to be a dick. So then he admits that he's in love and Athena flips her shit about it, only for him to say that he was kidding not 2 seconds later. Just, what the fuck is this scene? Moving on, Lasseter has been relocated to a brand new room somewhere and is telling Juko about how thrilled he is that the equipment is top of the line and that he can work all by himself. Buddy? Do you remember your previous working conditions? You had the exact same equipment there as you have here, save for the fact that now you have 3 monitors instead of only having 2, and you were already working entirely alone. What are you talking about? Also, where did you get all this shit from? Junko says that she got the Hope's Peak trustees to furnish it themselves, but how did you do that? How did you convince them to help you set it up? What did you tell them? Hey, so I need some top-of-the-line animation tablets and software and styluses as well as a high-end computer and 3 monitors. So can you give me all that for free? And if you did, then did you also mention it was for John Lasseter? Because if you did and I were a trustee, I'd probably be like, he's the ultimate animator. We've seen the projects he's been submitting. We're pretty sure his setup is already as decked out as it can possibly be. And if you just told them it was for you, then why in the holy hell would they even consider handing you this insanely expensive technology when it doesn't even remotely apply to your ultimate ability? And even if you did manage to somehow convince them to fork over thousands of dollars worth of technology, did they just give you the equipment for you to set up yourself, or did they actually help you carry it down into this room? Because if it's the latter, then that seems a little strange considering what we learned about where this room is actually located. So then Mukuro shows up with Mikan bound and gagged, tied up with the cord of a fucking mouse and keyboard. I'm not fucking around with you here, this actually happens. Did Mikan not run the fuck away as soon as she saw you? She's not exactly the confrontational type. How did she not escape? Mukuro was the one in the room. Mikan had every opportunity to run the hell away down the hall, so why didn't she? How did you pull this off? Also, your heist starter kit is very selective. You had the materials to gag her ready to go, but not the materials to tie her up, and so you had to use a mouse and keyboard to do that? What? Anyway, they release Mikan and show her Lasseter's animation, and she immediately starts tearing up from it. Meanwhile, Junko is busy analyzing the footage, presumably looking for what exactly makes it so mentally manipulative, which makes no sense at all, because the whole premise of this thing is that you can't control yourself when you watch it, and that you'd be forcibly succumbed to the intended emotional reactions. As in, you wouldn't be able to resist the urge to cry and instead try to analyze the footage. And if you wanted to do that, then why wouldn't you just fine scrub through it in an editing software? Why would you try to analyze what is likely frame-by-frame manipulation while you're watching it normally? Then we get some dialogue, which...
Have me try give you the old mouse pad or body pillow treatment. It'll perk you up.
What the fuck is wrong with you people? And then they just leave the two of them alone? Why? The only reason Mikana's here at all is because she was trying to find out what happened to John Lasseter. So if that was her mission, why would you ever think that she'd just be content to sit around and stay trapped here with him? Don't you think she'd want to rescue him and escape? She doesn't do that because she's an idiot, but you had no way of knowing that she was going to contract plot amnesia and just randomly stop caring about him. Why would you leave them completely unattended to? Moving on, Juko and Mukuro meet up with Izuru again and they proceed to escape effortlessly. Yeah, remember that beefed up security Matt was talking about? Well, it means fuck all. Armed security guards can't outwit one diva with a baseball bat. And again, I'd like to remind you that the last thing Izuru did was stomp on Juko's stupid face. Why did he do that if he wants to go with them? Where is the beefed up security? Oh, whatever. Mukuro calls a student council meeting with yet another batch of new characters from the Reserve Corps department and then tells them all to kill each other. They're doing this on campus because they're really smart and are just begging to be caught by security cameras. Also, who hosts a student council meeting in the middle of the night? How did you convince these people to get out of bed and come to this meeting? Anyway, the students say nah to wanting to kill each other, and so one of them fucking dies. And I shit you not, no one has any idea what to do here. They're all stunned to silence by the geriatric duo, and not a single one of them is smart enough to think of a way out of the situation. There's like 14 of you little shits. There's 2 of them, and only one of them has a gun. How about you walk up to the cart of tapes that they would obviously allow you to walk up to without shooting you, since you have to physically pick them up to know what's on them and they want you to do that. Then pretend to pass out from shock, quickly crawl under the desk, and then pull on Mukuro's legs so she collapses to the ground and subsequently drops the gun. Then just take the gun away and a lot of you can easily overpower these two. Or if that's too risky for you, then maybe you should take advantage of the time when they're staring into each other's eyes, completely ignoring you all, and the one with the gun has her hands full with the lyric sheet. Just Spartan charge into her from behind and end this bullshit. What are you doing? Also, they just gave you a bag full of weapons. Grab a frying pan and kick some ass. But no, nobody does anything. They just stand around with their thumbs up their asses. Nobody fucking thinks in this show. Stupidity is an epidemic in this universe. So because nobody in this room has the brain capacity to figure out what to do here, these two Muppets battle over a shotgun, and then one of them accidentally falls back into a sword that someone else was holding onto because of course he does. And then everyone starts brutally murdering each other for no fucking reason at all. This just fucking happens. There's no reason for any of this. You all have a blatantly obvious manner of getting out of this sticky situation, and then you just choose none of them and instead choose to kill each other? What is this show? Pikachu grabs a frying pan and... I am not kidding here. We are forced to watch full minutes of this garbage. Minutes upon minutes of these kids randomly running around like absolute psychopaths, trying to find increasingly ridiculous methods to kill each other, and they decide to do this for absolutely no reason whatsoever. One person dies and then suddenly everyone wants a piece of the murder pie. A couple makes a fucking suicide pact, but before they can go through with it, the boyfriend is impaled through the stomach, falls onto the girlfriend, and then some fuck takes a shovel and bashes it through her stomach. What the fuck is happening? What is this shit? Who wrote this torture porn of a script? But then, as the cherry on top of this madness, a man with a gun and a chainsaw charges at Izuru Kamakura and loses? How did that happen? How did you lose that? All you had to do was fucking shoot him! Why did you charge the man with a chainsaw when you had a gun you could have just shot him with? And so, because he's a fucking idiot, Izuru effortlessly sidesteps the attack and yeets him across the room, causing him to drop the chainsaw and then land on the chainsaw, which fucking beheads him. I am not fucking kidding. This is real. This actually happens in the show. And then, despite the fact that his body is not connected to his head anymore, he somehow lifts up his arm and fires a shot at Izuru? What the fuck is happening anymore? Then, Izuru watches all this insanity unfold and says, yes, good idea, must kill. And so he decides to become a murderer. I cannot fucking believe this. I am absolutely dumbfounded by what is happening on my screen right now. There is no logic or cause and effect running through anything in this scene. The kids all just randomly decide to murder each other for absolutely no fucking reason at all. They just say, please commit die, and then they go, alright, what are you doing? Just Spartan charge Yuko when her back is turned. Crawl into the desk and sweep Mukuro's leg. Or do any one of 146 other things that you could do, but you just choose not to. And I cannot understate this. This event is what converts Izuru to despair. He watches the students kill each other and then decides, hey, that looks like fun. That's it. No build-up, no logical character decisions, nothing. He just watches the Hunger Games unfold in front of him and thus he falls to the dark side. Fucking pathetic. Hey, remember in the second game when you said that you broke his spirit? Yeah, this isn't breaking his spirit. This is just playing him a Saw movie and then hoping he becomes a serial killer as a result. The only difference is that I'm saying that as a joke, but that was your actual plan! That was the actual actual plan you came up with, and it fucking works! Just fucking kill me already. What the fuck is this dumbass show? Who wrote this shit? You fucks have absolutely no respect for the franchise that you're trying to conclude. It's bad enough that you can't keep your own story consistent, but you can't even adhere to the established story leading up to this show. This is supposed to be a major event. The thing that turns Izuru Kamakura into a beacon of despair. The thing that leads to the downfall of society. And it turns out that it all happens because Izuru saw some violence and decided it looked cool. Fuck off.
They're planning to sweep it under the rug?
What the fuck? What do you mean they're gonna sweep it under the rug? How do you sweep a mass murder spree under the rug? These children have families. You cannot possibly cover this up. All it takes is one parent to wonder why their child isn't answering their phone calls and come visit campus, and then your whole operation is done for. I can't take this shit anymore. My brain needs a break from this insanity. Let's just speed through the rest of this bullshit episode. The father of a genius investigator instructs the charming man with the fedora to watch over his child if he ever passes away. Then Junko sends an anonymous email out to the school in the style of a closing argument, which is kinda cool, I guess, and exposes the Kamakura project for what it is, as well as blaming the entire massacre on Izuru Kamakura himself. This wouldn't happen to be because you wrote yourselves into a corner by blatantly contradicting the dialogue of the second game and needed some lazy excuse for how to dig yourselves out of your little hole now, would it? Also, there are security cameras! How can you possibly blame this on him without being directly contradicted by the security footage? This makes no goddamn sense. Who wrote this? Does anybody have any idea what's going on? Also, I guess Athena's investigation was just completely pointless. She spent the whole series trying to learn about the Kamakura project, only for the one to expose it to the world to be Junko Enoshima, and for all of her efforts to be rendered null and void. And so, as a result of the mass email, there was a massive horde of protesters outside the school. Chiaki wonders where Hajime disappeared to, and then the episode ends. Holy fuck! That was the worst back-to-back bunch of episodes we've had since the insanity of the episode 4 duology. We went from the insanity of Ultra Despair Girls to the insanity of a student massacre. Jesus Christ, this show is just a never-ending downward spiral of nonsensical madness. Are you trying to test me? Are you trying to see how far you can push this before we get fed up with your bullshit? I just learned that I wasted 18 hours of my life on a game that will be rendered null and void by the sequel, and that Hajime's road to despair started because Mama Junko finally let him watch an R-rated movie and thus he becomes a serial killer. Fucking Christ, I need a break from this shit. Manifest, please save me. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you all later this week for my coverage of episode 8. Goodbye.